Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, species around the multiverse, welcome back to You Know What It Is. It's the Geek Syndicate. And what we're doing, you know what we're doing. We're bringing the sass back to geekdom. I am Monts, and with me, as always, is...
There's the sass. Bring it. I'm the Nuge.
Yeah, boy. Sassy boy.
Yeah, thanks for just making it uncomfortable.
It really was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Gee. Yeah.
So how you doing, man? It's been a while.
It has. Just knackered, man. Getting used to life with being officially outnumbered by the amount of children in the house to adults. Yeah. It's just a bit weird. But yeah, that's all right. Apart from you know what? Apart from selling my car that I've spent thousands on for £100, but for scrap. But you know what you're gonna do.
Well, apparently not that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I could go on, but I'm trying to be positive.
This is the sort of moment where, like, I say to you, I got a plan to rob some sort of bank, and we put together some sort of sassy heist team.
Yeah, cut to montage.
Yeah, but the reality is, we just get nicked to get 20 years apiece.
Yeah, there you go. Which reminds me of something I can talk about later.
Okay,
that I've watched.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Obviously, I'm doing okay. Say obviously, I'm doing okay. It's just so proud.
Obviously.
Who am I? Listen to me. But what I've discovered is having a garden office is great. Having a garden office, which is, it's not soundproof, but obviously I have to have the door shut to record, in the middle of what feels like, it feels, I've always wanted a volcano hideout. Well, I've got my wish, because it feels like I'm sitting in the middle of a volcano at the moment.
Yeah, I bet it does.
Literally, just sweating like a bastard.
Yeah, tell me about it, man.
And when people, and I'd just like to say, all those people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't complain about summer because if you complain about summer, it'd be good."
Yeah, and I ain't going that far, man. Because as much as I'm melted, I still prefer it to like the cold. So I'm trying not to.
Well,
yeah.
Once again, got married in Iceland. That should tell you all you need to know.
There you go. Not much more to say, really,
you
is
need
it?
to draw your diagram. Drop me an email at barrydoesn'tcare.com.
Yeah.
It's the heat. Microaggressions.
Sodja.
What can I say?
Yeah, innit? Barry's microaggressions. Gegressions. Oh, and also, that was the thing. I had the voiceover job today, and I was like on my way to studio, and I got a call from my wife going, "Yeah, so there's a dead rat in the garden." It's like, yeah, pretty glad I'm not there.
I saw Siobhan post that on Facebook, and I was going to post like an animated GIF of like Luke standing there with Vader's body whilst it's like in flames. And I kind of thought maybe it will.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's hot.
Kids Alana's been home from school, and Alana and Kieran annoying the shit out of each other. So it's a tread carefully. Yeah. So let's talk about happy things. Basically, what we're going to do today is a bit of a catch up because there's been so much to watch, to read, whatever. I've read a book.
Damn. I've read a book too, and I'm reading a book or listening to a book.
I listened to a book, I should say, which I don't often do. So, I mean, that in itself is an experience to talk about.
Well, hold that thought. Before we get into like stuff we've been watching, reading, playing, whatever, I got a bit of news that I wanted to discuss with you to get your take on it, because you're the man on the spot for this sort of thing.
Let me get myself more comfy. There we go. Hit me.
I thought you'd fallen off your chair then.
No, so something fell. I don't know what it was.
Oh, well.
I'll find out in the morning.
So, this is all the news that fit to print. I don't know what I'm saying. This is the news.
Just get on with it.
Breaking news. So have you? If I said DC Universe to you, would that mean anything to you?
Yeah, it would mean a comic universe created by DC Comics.
Okay, so let me perhaps put that a different way by reading this paragraph to you. DC Entertainment's new subscription streaming service, DC.
Right, yeah. So, right. So, yeah.
Before you, hold your noise. Early noise.
All right.
For people listening, let me just finish reading the blurb. All right. You cool?
So I get into trouble for this at home.
Hold it down. Right.
All right.
As I said, DC Entertainment's new subscription streaming service, DC Universe, has been officially announced, promising to bring together DC Comics, movies, and TV shows, including new live-action animated shows, all on one platform. Users will be able to stream the content directly to their phone, tablet, laptop, or TV, and the platform will be a one-stop shop for all things DC. The service also promises to keep fans updated with news, products, and contests, as well as delivering exclusive new shows for subscribers. But what content can fans expect to see in Disney Universe? Well, here's a rundown of everything we know so far, and I shouldn't have read that last bit because I've just nicked this from a website. But right. I will tell you that they are going to be doing the new Teen Titans TV show.
Not just that.
The new oh my god, Young Justice season 3, Outsiders, and some other Swamp Thing, Doom Patrol. Right.
Okay. So here's the thing: when the Justice League was in the cinema, I went to see it, and I did a Facebook Live about it, saying that I really enjoyed the first third, which was basically the Amazons, and the rest. I didn't hate it, but I was disappointed. And also, I've never been more disappointed by an after-credit scene. The post-credit scene, I was like, oh, really? It's totally uninspired. And I remember saying, it's on Facebook Live, you can go and look. I remember saying, Marvel are way ahead of the game in terms of superhero movies and a cohesive universe, right? Yeah. And what Justice League did was, it was just more of the same superheroics, but with DC characters is what it felt like.
Yeah.
Whether you enjoyed it or not, there's no getting around it. It's just more of the same, really. And I said, what they need to do was either go back to basics, like old school Justice League, when everyone had their own missions and came together at the end, or just stop the Justice League, go straight to something a bit obscure. Because Marvel have done quite well doing obscure characters, and do the Doom Patrol, because there's a lot of material there with the Doom Patrol to take from. There's a lot of angst and NUI and all the rest of it that you could play with. So when I heard that you had some live action Doom Patrol coming to the DC subscription service, I was like, they got my money before it's up. And the other day I actually went to Google it to go, like, when is it up, man? When is it up?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Oh, you don't, oh, sorry. I thought there was going to end in the rant because it will do when I say what I've got to say.
Go on.
So obviously, DC Universe isn't just going to be. It's not just the new stuff. It's going to be all the films as well. So all the DC films that come out,
and it would be like a comic service as well.
Yeah, a comic service. All the TV shows.
I'm just going to interrupt you to say my first area of concern is that's a whole heap of things you're putting into one service, and I am dubious about, how well a platform like that's going to come together.
Well, yeah, I mean, before I get into one of my big gripes about it, one of my kind of issues at the moment is we seem to be moving into what I think what people will look back on as the streaming wars of 2018 or 2019. Where it seems that everyone's revolutionary idea is to start a streaming service. And charge people through the nose to get their content.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I already feel slightly beholden because of the fact that I'm on Amazon Prime and Netflix and Now TV.
So we lost Now TV, but I have picked up the Disney Channel because of the kids.
Okay.
However, because times are hard, it was a choice to be made. And I'm sorry, kids. Disney Channel's gone.
Well, there's only so much Mickey Mouse you can watch it there.
But you know what? Disney Channel's got a whole heap with Star Wars for a start. They're all,
of course. Yeah. Good point.
There's a whole heap of Disney stuff on there. But like the things they watch most on there are also on Netflix. I'm like, well, that doesn't make much sense, does it?
Yeah. But I think that will change. It's got to, innit? Eventually, they've got to start pulling that stuff off Netflix, maybe.
I don't know, but it's also like, a lot of stuff from BBC iPlayer ends up on Netflix. What was was BBC just idiotically takes all their stuff off after 28 days or whatever it is. Well, anyway, that's another thing.
That's another thing anyway. But yeah, as you said, there's so many different streaming services now. And my thing is, I'm not paying for any more. I'm not doing it. I've got if it's not coming on Netflix or Amazon, then or Now TV, then I'm sorry, I'm not having it. Or the problem with the DC Universe one, at the moment, as far as I know, it's US only.
What?
Yeah.
It's 2018.
Yeah.
That US only thing, you can't be doing that.
Now, whether that's sorry,
that is like.
Sorry to interrupt. Whether that is US only just for the because there's like a merchandising side to it as well, where you can buy stuff off them, and whether that's the case of that because of delivery charges and all the rest of it. But again, I've got to say, at the end of the day, then you just charge people delivery, and you give people you give them the choice.
There's no sense. There's going to be some legalese about whatever, but it's nonsense. It's absolutely, and it's like what? That's like loading a gun, pulling it to your own head and pulling the trigger. Why are you shooting yourself in the head or in the foot, as they say? Why are you doing that to yourself? Because DC's market is not limited to the US. The movie's on a worldwide release.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. And also, comics. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause I was going to say, it's just a streaming service, but, in the same way that I use Marvel's thing to read sort of Marvel comics, I pay a subscription to that, and I could take that. So if you're throwing comics in there as well, as long as it's not exorbitant, then you've got my money. But what you're saying is you don't want it.
Yeah.
That's not capitalism.
And here's this is what I signed up for. And here's the thing, right? So I've recently been watching and finished Luke Cage season 2. We'll talk about that say later. But when you look at Netflix, you look at the Marvel shows Netflix, right? Those bad boys land on the same day for everyone.
Yes.
As far as I know. You know what I mean? Yeah. And by everyone, I mean my neck of the woods. Yeah. So I can watch it at the same time as, my US cousins, as it were, and whoever. And that's great because then we're all sharing that experience at the same time. And even with films nowadays, the margin has got a lot shorter. We're talking days now, or maybe even like a week or something between a lot of the big releases, which is great, So for me, for them to say they're going to drop, say like Young Justice season 3, I'm not really interested in the other stuff. Doom Patrol, I'm interested in. I'm interested in Teen Titans more from a kind of voyeuristic point of view, just to see whether or not it's going to be rubbish or not. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not invested in the same way. Young Justice, I'm all over that. If they're going to drop that on day one and go, that's just for US, I'm going to lose my shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
That they need to find a way to drop that for everyone. And whether or not, but unfortunately, for them to make money off their streaming service, surely everything's got to be locked into that streaming service. So you can't be having a thing where Young Justice is going to drop on the DC universe and then a week later it's going to drop on Netflix. Because I'm like, well, what's going to make me pay money for your subscription service when I could all I could do is wait for it to drop on Netflix?
Yeah,
it's like Cloak and Dagger. I haven't watched it yet, but Cloak and Dagger's on Amazon Prime. Whereas I know in the States it's on.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's on some funny, funky streaming service. I can't even. Is it Freeform or something? I can't.
Freeform, yeah. That's what.
And the problem is most of these streaming services have like they have like one show I want to watch.
No, exactly. You know I mean? and also there's that whole thing that such a show is coming out. That's great. Where is it again?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm losing track of where stuff is, and. I'll say this, if there was ever a way to drive people back to torrents, I think this was it's the streaming wars.
Yeah. But this is what one of the things Netflix did, which was really good, by bringing these things out and making them available on the same day, kind of lessened that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the reason, it's not just the financial part of it, a lot of the reason why people will use alternative methods to get hold of stuff is because they don't want to wait for it. If you bring out I guarantee, if you bring out Young Justice and you say you can only access it on DC streaming service, but the rest of you can get it in like 6 months' time or something, people are not going to wait 6 months, because in this day and age of social media, they know they've got maybe 2-3 days tops before people are going to spoil the heck out of it.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if, like with The Last Jedi, only because it's been in my mind because we've been talking about it recently, if The Last Jedi, if they released it in, we'll say UK, if they released it in the UK in January but said America and the rest of the world weren't going to get it until May, you could just see that torrent just go up and up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Up and up and up.
Exactly.
It ain't rocket science.
Yeah.
However, I am looking forward to Young Justice and Doom Patrol.
Yeah, likewise.
How are you feeling about Teen Titans? Because you know you're a bit of a Teen Titans fan.
It depends on, you know what, I've really enjoying Teen Titans Go, because I watch it with my daughter.
Oh yeah.
And you know, I used to like, oh, no, you know, it's not for me. I don't really care. Watch it with my daughter. I don't know. Suddenly, it's just taken on a whole new lease of life, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm also curious because I don't know much about. I don't know what era of Teen Titans are they going to do, because it could be very different depending on what they're going for. You know, so I'm quite interested to know. I haven't looked it up, so I don't really know.
Well, there's a they've put out there's like a picture of Robin. If you do a search, it's not that hard to find out. He looks kind of hardcore. Got to say. This is my worry.
Oh, there's a teaser trailer.
Is there? No, I think the teaser trailer is for the DC universe. I think if there was a teaser trailer, I think it'd be all over the place.
Okay, DC shows off live action Teen Titans.
Okay, maybe.
But there's a cat.
Yeah, that's what I watch, and it's that's a teaser for DC universe. Doesn't show you anything other than.
For the whole thing, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he does look kind of badass.
He looks badass, but it's. Sorry, I've just seen the full one. Yeah, that's a good look, man. I gotta say, that's a good fair play. That's a good look. However,
has this got Hawk and Dove in it as well? What was that?
No, it's saying the pilot of Titans is centered on apparently 3 heroes: Robin, Raven, and Starfire.
Right.
And I think Beast Boy's going to be in it as well and stuff. I said, and maybe Cyborg. I'm not quite sure, but what they're saying is this is a rumor. So they're saying a site is saying alleged breakdown review of the pilot episode, which says very much not a series for children. Apparently, there are multiple F-bombs and S-bombs.
What?
Right, let me finish. There's multiple F-bombs and S-bombs, among other swear words that make it seem like they're going for R rating. Moreover, the action is brutal, with bone snaps, people being shot, burned, and mangled. Well, to be honest, that's like a put an arrow in it. And then they've said it's refreshing to see a DC show that's no holds barred. It's a shine away from the more mature aspects of the mythology. Right.
I think that's bullshit. Sorry. I was going to say, Barry, you don't understand. My heart fell when he said that.
Can I just say something where I feel like that where you're coming from, right? After what you just said with the kids or whatever, I used to watch the old the Teen Titans one, which is a bit more manga looking, isn't it? And I quite like that one, I've got to say. But the thing is, you currently have Teen Titans Go, right? So if kids are going to go online looking for Teen Titans, bloody blah, they're going to come across this. Now, like I said, this is just... It's one site. Could be completely wrong. But it'd be nice to have something you can watch with your kids. Live action, man.
My other thing is it necessary?
Exactly.
I know it's good to be mature. Is it? Haven't we got enough of that? We've got enough of that.
We've got enough of that, man.
And do you know what? It was only the other day I was thinking to myself, name one superhero show which you just... So I'm watching a number of superhero shows and they're good and I love them. but I can't think of a hero show where I come and go, that was just fun. Apart from Legion of Tomorrow, and that's a push. But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, Legends, yeah.
Legends, sorry, not Legends. But what shows they go, that was fun superheroics. I mean, not even like stupid or done for comedy, but just someone enjoying being a hero. Then you have the odd dark episode, they push it out, but it's, also, I don't know, and maybe I'm about to sound like an old man, but I kind of learnt my moral center from superheroes.
Yes, I was having this discussion with Ant earlier about where you get your moral compass from, and I was saying like a lot of mine came from the stuff that I was reading and watching, and like Star Wars. Star Wars is a big one for me on that, Mm-hmm. But you're right. But nowadays, everything it's about grey. No one's good, no one's evil. Well, that's great, but it would be nice to give the kids something a bit more clear cut.
Well, no, but and that's the thing for me. Can we give them something?
Yeah.
Because I ain't got jack shit. And when I was growing up, you look back at Super Friends. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing art. There was no high art concept going on there. But it was for me. Yeah. I grew up with superheroes, man, and I know kids are more sophisticated these days, and that's fine. Let it grow up. But it doesn't all have to grow up too fast. And what I don't know, my whole thing is you get fans that grow up and they write for themselves.
Yeah.
Which I understand and I like it. There's stuff I like, but no one's writing for the kids anymore. And they wonder why anime's doing great, why comics doing great. I'll tell you why. It's fucking obvious.
But it's even like, like the Marvel stuff, the Marvel shows, which are fantastic. Again, I'm going to talk Luke Cage later. But it would be also nice if they had some of those Marvel Netflix shows, which were aimed at a more younger audience as well.
My daughter's 7, yeah? She enjoys superheroes. Yeah, and we're fighting a battle against your pink princesses. Yeah, I ain't got a problem with pink princesses, but you need you need balance. And she likes the superheroes. Yeah, her and one of her best friends, they like the Teen Titans Go, and this will develop. Yeah, but what is it going now? I know a lot of parents who are willing to let their kids sit and watch some stuff, and I've got to say, that's their call. But I'm not ready to let my kids of the Marvel movies, for example. Mm-hmm. I reckon we could do Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, I'm not sure what else. And I know lots of other parents will probably disagree with me and have already let their kids watch stuff. Well, good for you. I'm operating to a different level, obviously not level. I'm operating to a different set of criteria.
Yeah.
But I'm not fully comfortable with letting them watch that. But she loves this stuff. So what can I show her?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the cartoons, a lot of the Marvel cartoons on TV, she ain't digging. They're just not the ones that are aimed at kids. They're just not hitting it for her.
It's because they're rubbish.
And what live action stuff is there I can show her?
Yeah. And the thing is as well, it's not a very difficult one, because I think the problem is what will happen is if they bring out, say, like Titans and aimed it at a younger market, your older lot would then just kick off about it. But it's like, you've got plenty.
Mm.
And there's a lot of shows aimed at a younger audience, which I know I will check out and really and enjoy it. And just enjoy it. Not going to change my world or nothing, but I just enjoy it.
Yeah. And you'd come back for it.
Yeah. So hopefully I'm wrong.
And also, on a personal, forget my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On a personal level, I don't need that from my Teen Titans. I don't really want that from my Teen Titans.
Yeah.
It's Teen Titans. But it's not what I want. It's broken my heart. It's broken my heart.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to something positive, even though it's something brutal.
Well, do you know, I wanted to do a little segment.
Okay.
I was going to call, only because we were talking about kids. Yeah. And I just thought, because I'm watching some geeky stuff with my daughter, I thought I'd try and I should review something which is for kids that my daughter's actually like that is geeky.
Okay.
So for all the parents out there, and actually for me, what the test is, the real test is, well, it's not the only test, but I thought if I give you a TV show for kids and you really like the concept, then there's something that's going on really good there.
Yeah.
So the first one I want to watch is actually I want to talk about is actually something I know you've already seen.
Oh, okay.
It's on Netflix and it's called The Hollow.
Ah, yes. This
have you seen it all?
This is weird, right? Because Netflix just dropped shows.
With no pomp and ceremony.
No pomp
you
and
just turn it
ceremony.
on and it's just sitting there on your screen. You go, what the hell's this?
And literally, that's what...
The other day, I just went through it. I was like, oh, I'll add that to my list because that looks interesting. Where did that come from?
Yeah. I never used to understand, right, where you go around to someone's house and they'd have like 3 or 4 different Netflix accounts. I'm like, what's that about? But what I now have my own Netflix account and Sue has her, and we have like a joint one. And every so often my one loads up and Sue's like, what's this on there? What's that? And I'm like, this is my one. She's like, I can tell that because there's a lot of nonsense on THLV. But it's because, and so when I go on there, something will just pop up and I'll go, that looks interesting. And I'll just stick it on my list. And that
my list is growing, man.
That Hollow one popped up and it just caught me at a moment where nothing was really on and I was like, it's only 20 minutes, let me just stick it on. And 2, maybe 3 days later, if that, I'd watch the whole thing.
Yeah. It's pretty much what happened to it. But so I looked at it and I thought, that looks interesting. And then funny enough, you mentioned it on WhatsApp like a day after I'd seen it.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, I'll give it a go. And I started to watch it because I've got to do some physio. I've got some exercises to do for my knee because I tore a cartilage. So it was, I put it on while I'm doing my exercises. And Alana walks in and I was like, oh no, it looks, I don't know if it's Pete. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bit too scary.
Yeah.
Because that first episode was proper creepy. Yeah, it reminded me of The Cube.
That's what
the horror movie.
That's what it reminded me of as well, yeah.
So I was all over that because The Cube was horrific, man. And she started watching it and she loved it. So it became our thing.
Okay.
And it took us 3 days to watch all 10 episodes. And she loved it. Still talking about it.
So for people in the cheap seats, what's The Hollows, Dave?
So it's an animated Netflix original series by Slap Happy Productions, or Slap Happy Cartoons is a production company. John was great. It's created by a guy called Vito Viscomi. It's a Canadian production, and it's 3 teenagers wake up in a room with no memories of who they are. All they've got is a name in their pocket. They put in their pockets, they've got their names, and there's a typewriter in the room, an old school typewriter, and that's it. And they have to figure out how to get out that room, and they find themselves somewhere, and they just keep going from place to place with quests to basically they've got quests to achieve in order to get home, but they can't remember home. They can't remember who they are. They've got superpowers, which they kind of discover bit by bit with no idea why or how. And yeah, they have to, each episode, 10 episodes, they face horror after horror, bringing them closer to the end of their quest. So it's got overtones of old school Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Yeah.
Like kids trying to get home. Yeah. I just thought I really enjoyed it.
I like you. I really enjoyed it. I thought it worked as something that kids could watch. It worked as something that adults like myself that like a good cartoon can watch. If I had one criticism, and I'm choosing my words really carefully,
Go on.
the ending left me a little bit cold.
And like you say, I did quite like the fact that because there's so much to watch these days, I quite like the fact that it was hit and done. But Alana could have done another season of that happily.
Yeah, exactly. Nice.
So yeah.
So
tune in next week for some more Kids Geek Out with Dad. I've got to find a better, snappier phrase.
Yeah, you work on that, or maybe someone could email in.
Yeah, email in.
Whilst we're on the Netflix tip, 2 things I want to talk about quickly is, first off, you mentioned this to me briefly, which was Ministry of Time, which we talked about. Did we talk about last episode?
Oh, see, this is how you confuse people. Because you told us, and I think it was Peter Rogers went looking for it, said, I can't find it. I said, yeah, it's because it's called El Ministerio del Tiempo. Okay. It's in Spanish.
Okay. Yeah, what he said.
So if you're looking for Ministry of Time, you're not going to find it. If you're looking for El Ministerio del Tiempo, you'll find it. But go on, don't let me interrupt.
So obviously we talked about that last episode. You started watching it, you put me onto that, and I saw shit. I have now. We're actually taking our time with this one, so we've watched the.
You've got to, haven't you?
We've watched the first season, and
we finished the first season yesterday.
Okay, and so there's 3 seasons. We've watched the first season. Now we're taking a bit of a break because the first thing I'll say, it's not a criticism of the show at all. It's on me. Is the fact that you got to concentrate, right? And not just because
first off, because it's subtitles.
That's what I mean. Because it's subtitles, you can't rely on your ears. You can't do that where you're kind of half watching, you're taking things in, you're doing this, that, and other. You got to be looking at the screen, and
also each episode is just over an hour.
Yes, so each episode very much feels like you're watching a movie. You know,
yes.
But at no time, and I've watched 45, but hell, I've watched half an hour shows and been checking my watch, going like, it's dragging a bit, innit? At no time did I feel in that hour that this show's dragging.
No.
And yet, there wasn't like loads of CGI. There wasn't loads of explosions. There wasn't there's no martial arts in this show whatsoever. You know, there wasn't loads of action. You know, stuff happens, obviously. But it's just the power of the story, the characters, the acting, the fact that because I was watching it subtitles, I was getting their performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Also, they had an episode where they mentioned the Ark of the Covenant. It had Nazis in it. I mean, I was all over that show.
I know. The other thing, so the other thing gets me is like, right, so I'm going to... One of the hottest women in there, yeah, and she's hot. Yeah, for me, she's like, yeah, I'll watch that all day.
She's the one that she's like one of the main sort of people that runs it.
Yeah. She's quite high up in the ministry.
Yeah.
Well, okay, first of all, like, there's something about, I don't know, Spanish European TV where they don't feel the need to go with like the stereotype of good-looking people.
Yeah.
These people, they look lived in.
Yeah,
they look like normal people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there's a woman in there, and she is hot. She is sexy. She plays her sexuality. And she's 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's by far the sexiest woman in the show. She's 50, and I'm like, what? And what American TV show does that? It's probably going to get an email going, actually.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you know, they use people who look like ordinary, everyday people, or they've got age on them. They've got a gravitas that comes to just being older.
Yeah.
It's like on American TV and English TV now. It's like someone's a professor of something, and they look like they're 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, this woman's just coming up to 50.
Yeah. There's a rugged, and I think with the blokes as well, there's like you say, that phrase lived in is good. There's like a ruggedness to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know the woman I'm talking about, there's a guy who recruited her. When he comes in, do you know?
All I can say is, right, it's been a long time since I seen a dude rock a cravat like that dude, man.
Yeah.
Cravat, beard, suit. Nah, smooth.
And also, what the other thing that they've done is they've made a mockery of some of the things that Doctor Who creators have said over the years.
Yeah.
Because since it came back, one of the things was why are the companions always contemporary, modern day contemporary? Why couldn't we have them from different time zones? And people go, oh, it would be too difficult to do someone who's from the past. Imagine having to explain stuff every season and whatever. this show, the three main characters are from three completely different eras. Yeah. You got a guy from the 21st century, you got a woman from the late 19th century, and you got a guy from, where's he from now?
Effectively, it's like recruiting D'Artagnan from the Musketeers.
Yeah, pretty much. From the 15th century, this dude. Yeah, and they come, and the way they deal with those differences, like, there's a bit where, like, in the ministry, and the bloke goes, yeah, we're just going to Skype our office head there, and he goes, we're going to FaceTime, and goes, you can FaceTime through time? And this guy goes, what's FaceTime? Long story, tell you later. And that was it. That's all you needed. And also the look on that guy's face every time like someone says something is like, what? Totally confused. And it's great. And that's what I mean about the acting as well. Sometimes it just looks. And sometimes their emotions are hitting the ceiling. I just think it's great. I'm actually watching Timeless as well, which you put me onto. Yeah. And it's essentially exactly the same premise, but with a flashy spaceship and good-looking young people. And I'm really enjoying it, but I'm actually finding it a lot harder to get into it now since watching this. And it's a completely different thing. Yeah. To be fair.
We watched Timeless first, and I really enjoyed Timeless. I really enjoyed it. The thing with Ministry of Time, which it does differently from the template shows that we normally watch in American and UK shows, is that we would spend, and watching Timeless is a great comparison. We would spend like hours and money explaining the pseudoscience behind traveling through time, because we feel we've got to explain it to the punters watching it, even though the punters watching it don't really understand what you're telling them. Telling me you bend this, that, and the other, I'm like, whatever, just get in the spaceship, man. You know, get in the ship, get on with it. You know what I mean? Whereas what I like about Ministry of Time is like, yeah, we got some. Basically, this ain't a spoiler. It's like, yeah, there was this priest back in the day. He found a book he found some doors that take you through time. He made a map of all the doors through time. He gave it to us. We set up the mystery. Done. And
the thing is, and what's great is they don't really know how it works either. That's me.
There is zero explanation of the science behind the fact that they have a facility with loads of doors, and you go through the door. It's basically the Spanish version of Mr. Ben.
It is, but I love it because they haven't got a clue how it works. They just found the doors, and they're just making sure no one corrupts Spain's history.
Yeah, and the other thing I love about it, again, with like shows like Stargate and Timeless and all these sort of shows which rely on this sort of special thing, and it's all a big secret, and it is a secret, but at the same time, the way it's treated by the people that run the place and people that come to work there, it's like you're going to work for the council.
It's great. Their shitty little canteen. Drinking out his tiny little teacups. It'll buy some, and like you walk past people in the corridors, time travelers, and they're going, I hear they've cut our bonuses this year. This place, man. And you're just like, and they've got a smoke. They like, since they were banned from smoking inside, they all go to stand outside a theatre in 18 whatever, because it's the perfect cover, because they're all in costumes. So everyone thinks they're rehearsing. So the smoking room is actually another door into another time outside the theatre. It's just like,
and there's a bit where obviously the person they recruit, who's like the sort of team leader, and she's kind of describing it's the bloke. He's describing this person that he's seen that they need to find, and he's describing to this sort of sketch guy, and he's like, was it anything like this? And he's like, that's amazing. How does he do that? It's exactly what I've described. And he turns out to be some world famous
Velasquez,
some Spanish like painter who just works there. You know what I mean? And what?
But that's the thing. Enough people work there. It's like it's not the best secret in the world.
No, it's the matter of factness, and then it brings in that whole global frequency side in the fact that when they go to these other time zones, there are people who live in that time who are completely aware of the ministry and work for them.
Yeah, I like the bit where they go through and they tell this guy, "Why are you dressed like a gardener?" He goes, "I'm not dressed like a gardener. I am a gardener. I just work for the ministry on the side for a bit of extra money." It's quality.
And I think these are weirdly, I think if the UK did that sort of a show, they would do it like a comedy.
Yeah.
They would do it as a comedy.
And that's why the funny moments work, because it's not a comedy.
No, it's just everyday life, isn't it?
And there's some parts of it that are heartbreaking, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a deep show, man. It works on a lot of levels, you know. So that's, you say the phrase, I can't do it.
El tiempo, no.
Nope.
El Ministerio del Tiempo. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Get on it. So before we get into what we've been reading, I've got to quickly, speaking of things you can't get on quickly enough, which is going to sound weird, I watched season 2 of Luke Cage.
I'm 15 minutes into the first episode.
Right. So let me say this, right? A lot of people were raving about Luke Cage season 2. So I sat down to watch it with Sue. Sue was reluctant because she didn't watch the first season. And I enjoyed the Luke Cage season 1. I thought the pacing was off. I had a few. I enjoyed it. I had quite a few problems with it though. And the minute Cottonmouth was out of the picture and they brought in whatever his name was,
Turtleback or
Hoover Man or whatever their name.
Gold Edward.
Yeah, with the magic, with the vacuum cleaner on his back, and that gave him superpowers. I struggled, you know. So I went into this a little bit hesitant. I watched the first episode, and Sue, at the end of the first episode, Sue went, "I'm out."
What of season 2?
Yeah, she was like, "I'm out. You carry on watching."
Okay.
She said, "I don't know why." She said, I just found it slow. I couldn't really just get into it, and it was weird because I watched the first episode and I thought, I'm concerned because I felt I was getting the same issues with that. That I had with season 1. However, all I'll say is, the minute the main, what's the fancy word for villain? Is it antagonist?
Yeah.
Once you meet one of the antagonists, which is Bushmaster, it flies.
Okay.
It flies. Mate, I sat last, and I had a ton of work to do, and Sue was out, so I was able to just crack on and do my writing and stuff. I sat and watched the last 4 episodes back to back.
Seriously?
Yeah, it flies. The whole thing is around a kind of feud between the Yardis and sort of Mariah's family. It's not really... I'm trying my best not to give too much away. But the way they do the Jamaicans in this, you know, and just some of the lines they drop and some of the conversations they're having and some of the mannerisms, I'm like, reminding me of growing up around my parents and my, you know, extended family, you know? Okay. And the fact that Bushmaster's dropping to Jamaica, and then you go and watch an interview with Bushmaster, and I'm like, wow, that's good, man. That's a good accent. Okay. There's a couple of accents that are less good, but
no surprise.
But he's good, man. But it doesn't matter, you know. The intention is there, you know. And Luke is good. Luke Cage is good. He's good in it. I think in many ways, even though he ups his game in season 2, he's still probably the weakest element. But what surrounds him is pure gold. You know, the Shades, Mariah. I'll tell you, there's a conversation in there. I said that on WhatsApp to you between Mariah and Luke. I was like, that it's basically Superman and Lex Luthor just sitting chatting. So yeah, I really feel like they looked at the first season and thought, this didn't work, we need to up this, we need to sort this out. And I feel this is what you call a season 2, where you've actually listened to what went wrong with your first season and fixed it. I almost don't want to see it get season 3.
Right, just in case. Just in
case, do you know what I mean? And the ending of it is so... It's a very... For me, it was an unexpected ending. I didn't see that ending coming. So... And I think it leaves so many questions open. I almost wanted to see it end like that, you know. Okay. And I think one of the criticisms we talked about, the fact sometimes that what Black Lightning got right was it was still able to do, it's trying to get across a message.
It did its black consciousness, but it weaved it seamlessly into the flow of the story. Yeah. Whereas I felt like the first season of Luke Cage would pause to do its black consciousness.
Yeah, whereas
and then carry on.
I think this season was very much in the mode of Black Lightning, and I feel they did it a lot. But a couple of times it stumbled, but I think by and large it did a lot better job at that. Also, it had Rakim from Eric B. and Rakim dropping.
What?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
He dropped. So let me tell you what's right. He dropped a tune called King's Paradise. I'll send you a clip of it because there's like a shortened version. That's the one to watch because if you actually listen to the lyrics fully, it's actually a spoil. There's actually spoilers galore in there.
Right.
But there's like a shortened one that Netflix has done. Let me tell you, I was like Rakim. Suddenly, I was 13, 14 again. Listen,
yeah, man.
Full, do you know what I mean?
Because I'm paid in full.
So there's some tunes playing.
Ding 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 ding.
Yeah, it's got a soundtrack and a half. The action is good, but the confidence for a superhero show, which its last episode doesn't have any superheroics. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right. Enough said, man. Enough said. I'm on it.
Okay.
The other thing I'll mention before we stop talking about TV after this, I'll be quick. I'm on episode 5 of Cloak and Dagger. Basically, I'm up to date with Cloak and Dagger.
Okay.
And I'm like, why are people not talking about this more? This show is great. It's the pace isn't slow, but they don't hurry.
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense because they allow time for a lot of psychological exploration between the two main characters.
Okay.
And to be fair, the two main characters don't actually spend that much time in each other's company. Yeah, or even like each other that much.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting and it plays with certain stereotypes. And I was like, of course the black guy's like this and the white girl's like that. And then it's like, oh, okay. They just placed it nicely and didn't overdo it. I don't know. I love the soundtrack. I love the way the main characters are exploring themselves and the world around them as teenagers. Yeah, I don't know. I'm all over it.
Okay.
All over it.
Okay. I have to check that out.
It's literally, I keep going to check when's the next one because I'm used to like Netflix dumping a whole heap of stuff and Amazon haven't done that with this. So you're like, man, to be fair, I wouldn't have time to watch that many in a row anyway, but I'm just enjoying it.
All right. I want it. Right. We had
that and Into the Badlands, I could literally sit and just watch all day.
We haven't even talked. We're going to have to... Well, all I'll say about Into the Badlands is it's more to say, but people get the whooping hardcore. We'll talk.
Yeah, I met up with Phil, old friend, the other week, and I told him about it. Like the next morning, I got a tweet saying, "Yeah, I was in after the first 5 minutes." I was like, it's like, yeah, that's when you know if it's for you. Within 5
minutes of the first episode Into the Badlands.
Yeah.
But we'll talk Into the Badlands next week because I'm conscious of time. I've probably got about 10 minutes. You probably got about.
Likewise. So
let's do some reading.
Let's do some reading.
I have read to do comics, so I'm still on the Athena Voltaire tip. I have read Athena Voltaire and the Volcano Goddess, which is again by Stephen Bryant, which is a slightly older one that he's put out. And it's again, it's that sort of pulp adventure, Indiana Jones style or whatever. I've got to say, I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it much less than the last Athena Voltaire that I reviewed, which was The Sorcerer Pulp. Because I felt this one kind of relied a lot more heavier.
I was going to say
it relied a lot more on the Indiana Jones tropes. A lot more.
We could talk about that next week because I know you got a thing about Indiana Jones tropes at the moment.
But I did enjoy it. But like I said, I feel, and obviously this is done before his later stuff. So I feel he's kind of hit his groove, and he's more confident in that he's able to tell that kind of pulp adventure story without relying on stuff. There's even a guy over whipping it and stuff, and I was a bit kind of didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still worth a read. Still good old fun pulp adventure. Go.
Read a book. Well, I listened to a book by Tomi Adeyemi. She's an American author called Children of Blood and Bone. And basically, I saw my cousin talking about it's a fantasy book. And it's written by a black woman and features black characters. And she's going, this is great, it's great. And I was like, you've never read a fantasy book in your life. Why? Just because it's got black people, if you don't like fantasy, why are you reading fantasy? It was my thing. You're reading fantasy just to make a point. But then like, on my Audible account came up, you're going to lose a credit if you don't.
I always hate when that happens, but it's like, quick.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, you know what? I couldn't think of what else. I'll give it a go. And it's one of those things that I asked for when I was a kid. Because I love my Narnia. I love my Lord of the Rings. I just turn and looking at my bookshelf. There's a whole heap of other fantasy stories that I loved. But I always remember thinking, why are all the fantasy tropes based on, not why, it's just obvious why, but they're all based on European myths? Mm-hmm. Like there's no other myths in the entire world. And as I got older, I kind of was interested to read other myths, Chinese stories, Japanese myths, and on and on. So basically, this woman who's grown up loving Harry Potter and Avatar, The Last Airbender, they're her two big influences. Yeah, and stuff like the Hunger Games and stuff. And also being moved to tears by all the stuff that comes up with Black Lives Matters and watching young children being shot for nothing, young black kids. Mate, just said, well, why don't I write a book which is, about people that look vaguely like me? And actually what she said, well, everyone in there is pretty much darker than me. And and basically it's a young adult fantasy novel, which draws its inspiration from the Yoruba, which is a Nigerian people.
Okay.
So number one, and it's about, I'm just trying to think of a way to say it quite briefly. So in this story, there's a country called Orisha, and the king doesn't like the magic users. Magic users are called magi. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the ones who haven't got any magic yet are called diviners. And then you've got the class of people who don't have any magic at all. They haven't got that bloodline. I've forgotten what they're called now. But so the ruling people, they're not magic users, and the king, for whatever reason, decides he hates them, and he finds a way to cut off the magic.
Right.
And once he's done that, he then basically goes and slaughters every mature magi, because they're the ones who've got the magic. And he said if they've ever had magic, they'll want it back, so we can keep the kids alive, and basically kills every single adult magi in the land. Damn. And it's called The Raid. And this book takes place 11 years after the raids, and it follows a young girl called Zayli, who's a diviner, meaning one of magic blood. And one of the things that drives her is remembering her mum being dragged out and killed. Basically, things happen that start to bring magic back in the world, and it's up to Zayli and her brother and one other person to kind of help that. And the crown prince is sent to stop them with his soldiers and whatever. Yeah. Now, first of all, is it a good story? It's a bloody good story. Right. Because I don't often listen to. I've never actually listened to a whole book. I'm a reader. I use my eyes. So I thought, I'll give it a go. And actually, it's easier for me to listen nowadays than it is to read. I can listen as I walk along. Yeah. And I struggled for the first few chapters. And I remember passing the point where I couldn't wait to go out the house, walk in so I could get the next chapter down.
Okay.
And I was just like, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? And what was really interesting is that she's kind of tried to reflect the politics of America, with like there's people in power beating down on the people that don't, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter, but she set it in a country where it's basically where it's not about black and white, it's about those in power and those not.
Yeah.
And then you can make whatever parallels you want to make, but you don't get distracted by that. But it's obvious, which is why it works. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah.
But and what was really nice was hearing it read in an African accent, because then it was truly another place, another time, based on different, completely different myths. And it was just really nice to hear. It was a good story. And the ending, I kind of saw it coming just before it happened, and I went, no, what's going to happen next? There is going to be a second one.
Okay.
And I like how they deal with this. Because it's big, it's epic. It's really weird because it's small. It's a small story, and yet its overtones are epic. So, yeah. And it's brutal in places as well.
Cool. So, for people in cheap seats, what's that again?
Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And it's her first novel. For a debut novel, it's fantastic. Debuted at #1 at the New York Times bestseller list.
Damn.
And apparently it's one of the most anticipated novels of the year. How a novel by someone who's not written a novel becomes the most anticipated novel, I don't understand. But it did, apparently.
Oh, fair enough.
But my thing is, I was prepared. I went in skeptical because, when something gets the hype.
Yeah.
In my mind, it kind of lived up to the hype.
All right. Children of Blood and Bone. Okay. I think I have heard of it. I think we got... sure someone got in contact with us about it. Sure of it.
Politics aside, it works. And to be fair, if it's not a good story, the politics aren't going to work.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I said. Cool.
Oh, and there's some bits in it where people put it on the line, and the narrator's going, and I'm sitting in my car going, "Come on!" And I thought, okay, I know it's good there.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna add it because I've got
fight.
I've got obviously I've got Audible, so I'm gonna add it on. Right after.
You're sitting there going, "How can you be so stupid?"
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about because we need to wrap up. I'm not going to talk about the book that I'm reading until to episode 300, which is our next episode. No idea what we're doing for episode 300. We may try and do a live one, like by live as in live over the internet live.
Well put, man.
Live is in a place somewhere because that takes organisation, and we just about enough organisation to like get together to record a podcast. Let alone go.
You tell me about it.
So, but please, if there's ever a time to send an email in to us guys with questions, thoughts, especially if you've been listening to us for a long time, it would be great to be able to do that for episode 300, so we could like dedicate a serious chunk of time just to like, reading out some
to you,
to
our beloved listeners,
to, checking out, listening to some of your questions and feedback and whatever. So please, take the time, drop us an email. Dave, where can they get in contact?
Funny you should ask. I was just about to say you can get in contact at the geeks at geeksyndicate.co.uk. If you don't want to type that out, you can just find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. Go.
Cool.
Or to your scattered social media. Go. Or, as we like to say, till next time, Geek Syndicate, we out.